Good morning, my Greater Grace Church. Decided to do something a little different this morning. I just have been really wrecking my brain, just trying to wrap my mind by this whole thing, of our church, the church that God promised, the church that is worth fighting for. But there's times that we just can't sit and wait for the fight to come to us. We got to take it out to the streets. And so I believe in my spirit, this is God, this is what God wants us to do. You see, God haven't brought us from this point to that point to this point. Greater Grace Church is our last chance. Oh, there may be some out there that might say, well, fine, I'll find me another church. You will never find a church like Greater Grace. I am 63 years old. Been there, done that. Was at my former church for 43 years. And when Pastor came to our church, that was it. We needed him. We needed his ministry. The capacity of my former church is 438. And most of you know, for those of you that was with us way back then, is that we had to go to 2 services. And so it got so good that word, that meat and potatoes of the word got so good that people from the first service didn't want to leave. Parking lots all over the place throughout the neighborhoods. I mean, parking was just like everywhere. Some people got mad. They was wondering, what's going on with that church? You know what was going on in the church? There was power in that church. But don't you know today, I believe in my spirit that that church is cursed. It is a cursed church that only hold maybe 20 some or 25 people now, maybe every Sunday. And what happened was that church sat by and let what happened to Pastor, they let it happen. Not one person came to apologize for what had happened. To literally lock him out, change the locks on their doors, lock him out. And ever since then, he has been struggling and struggling and struggling to keep a roof over our heads so that we can have an adequate place to worship. And don't you know, the first place that we went to, there were still people whining and complaining with a loaf of bread practically stuck in their mouths, complaining about this and complaining about that. I want to share this with you right here, just a brief scenario. And this is coming from Joshua 14, verses 6 through 13. And when you get a chance, I need for you to read this into this entirety. And so the text is dealing with the dividing of the land that God promised to the children of Israel. When we got into this church, let me back up. The prayer that we had in the parking lot, the circle that was formed around that parking lot, I saw people hungry and thirsty and thankful for what God had done. Where are most of those people today? Some of them left because they had their own private agendas. Some of them probably left because of relationships that was in the church that went sour, and therefore they got mad and they took up their cross and they took the problems to the next address. Some left because they was associated with this person, so therefore that person who left talked the other person into leaving the church. Okay, we got the news about we need $200,000 so that we can keep the church that God promised us. You see, that was it. God said that, okay, my man, my shepherd, the head of my church, has been abused enough. Enough is enough. So it's up to us to take the fight out to the street rather than wait on something, wait for the fight to come to us. It's up to us to get our church back. And it can be done. Many times I've been on the link with different ways on how to raise the $200,000. And it was ignored. It pretty well stopped me from wanting to try different things, suggesting different things. But I am not resting easy. I'm not going to just sit down and do nothing. And so I decided to do this little video clip because God gave me this, and I'm going to give it to you again. And I'm giving it to you again because God showed me it can be done. It can be done. Let me share this with you. This week, I will be focusing my attention on a patrons list. And I want to bring this to the attention of all sororities, fraternities, Masons, social club members, pastors, preachers, school teachers, entrepreneurs, family members, organizations, church members, military, and veterans. We need to raise $200,000, and God has showed me a way to do it. The patron list that I will be designing will be for 200 people to raise to raise $1,000. That means is that the 200 people will go to 10 people for $100 each. That amounts to $200,000, and it can be done. If you know any sponsors or business owners that want to put up even more money, it can be done. There is I don't know what else to say to you. Some of you might maybe look at this video, and some of you might maybe say the things that you've said or try to ignore it. But this is our church. God gave us another chance. And what he is doing this time around, Bishop and Lady Lisa, he's not going to let them hurt anymore. Their own personal finances have literally broke their pockets. Pastor went into his pockets and gave for something that could have been done in his own household. I've seen Pastor, his health declined, weight lost. I don't know whether or not you've been paying attention to that. And even though that he's 46 years old, don't you know what all the heaviness of that weight could have caused him to have a massive heart attack? And when he had to come before us on his birthday weekend, that took a lot. But through all of that, I could see a release that he was getting. And how embarrassing that it must have been to come before the church every Sunday to tell the church do what they need to do. And people look at him like, okay, where's the money? Okay, you know where the money is? Still in people's pockets and their pocketbooks. Every Sunday, empty envelopes being placed in the offering plates. People staying home on first Sundays because they knew that we would do an outpouring to say, okay, the $100 gifts. And even if you decide to stay home because you don't want to do your offering and your tithes, you will not be blessed. Last year, look at last year and look at this year. What was your New Year's resolution? You see, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I believe in God's solutions. And so the house that you wanted, the car that you wanted, or anything else that you wanted, God saw the money in your pocket. He saw the money in your bank account. He saw the money in your pocketbook. Why? Because God blessed you with that money. Because of his grace, his love, and his mercy. And God give us choices to make, hoping that we will make the right choices. We have free will. He gives us free will, but at the same time, he's looking to see what choices that we make. And we're still running to the altar crying out, we need this and we need that. Why God is allowing this. You should not have to wonder. So you have to step out on faith. And you've got to do what God has admonished us to do. It's up to us. It's not up to Bishop. It's not up to Lady Lisa. It is up to us. And God is going to see that we do this. So pastor will be bishop with or without greater grace. And his life will go on and God will reward him openly for all that he has done and still is trying to do. But it is up to us. And so I will be bringing those patrons list on Sunday. I will not be in Tuesday night Bible study tonight because I'm working on some projects. And the patron list is one of those. So if you want to get started right now before the patrons list, why don't you just go ahead and devise a plan to get 100 people to give $100 towards the $200,000. The frat brothers, the sorority sisters, I know that these organizations, fraternity sororities, that they have people across the globe that you can reach out to. School teachers, other teachers, that families can donate towards $100. It can be done, and it can be done quickly. It's about Greater Grace Church. It's about our home. Where else will you go and holler across the room, "Who's that?" without being looked at like you're crazy? Where will you go and greet your neighbors in an openness that feels good, that feels like family? What other church is going to take the time for you to do that? Where else will you go that you can have a one-on-one tag with the pastor, the bishop? You're not going to find it in any of these churches. Some of these churches right now, they want to look at your income tax statement and everything. They want you to give this, and everything. But the family that we have in Greater Grace Church, it is worth saving. From my former church, the only people that are left that came over to Grace is my sister Gloria Holloman, my friend Pastor Regina Harrison, Ann Govan, Thurman Debro, and myself. Everywhere I go, in any conversation that I can talk to people, I tell them about Greater Grace. So if you're treating this like you don't want to play with your toys anymore, this is serious business. I don't know about you, but I don't intend on going to another church. I am not hopping from this church to that next church. I've got less years in front of me than I have behind me. When I die and go home to glory, I do not want to be spoken over in a funeral home or somebody's church that was borrowed for rent. I want to be in my own home church. Even though I won't be here to see all of that, but I want to be remembered by grace, by greater grace. Something happens to me, I end up in a hospital. I want to be able to get on the telephone and talk to somebody from greater grace. The intimacy that we have amongst each other. This is serious business. You see, I don't have time, and I'm not going to take the time anymore to get on the link that has been provided for us, the ministry link and the community chat, to talk about things to me right now that is not more important than saving our church and getting our church back. There's a lot of joking and all this going on, but right now, can I be honest with you? I don't see anything else funny. My mind right now, my attention right now, 100% is how to get our church back. God has not pronounced ashes to ashes, dust to dust over it. So we're still in our church, and we still should respect God's church and appreciate where we are and stop thinking about who's left and what people are saying. We are greater grace strong. And we've shown that for nearly 10 years. So now it's time to take those training wheels off. It's time, if you want to talk about something, talk about how to get our church back and get the sign out of that yard. I love you dearly. I don't know what else to say. But I've said what God wants me to say to you on today. So it's time that we take it out to the streets and we get our church back. God bless you and have an amazing day.